It was breaking news today, but really no surprise. The L.A. County coroner said Michael Jackson died because he had lethal limits of a powerful anesthetic, propofol, in his system. They've ruled it a homicide. Dr. Conrad Murray admitted giving Jackson the drug for insomnia for 6 weeks. The drug is normally used for general anesthesia in a hospital. Murray said he'd been trying to wean Jackson off the powerful sedative. According to documents unsealed today, on the morning of his death, Jackson couldn't sleep, and Murray administered several drugs. That didn't work. Jackson urged him to inject propofol, and that was it. It's only a matter of time before Dr. Murray is arrested. Our contributors tonight, social activist and actress Debra Skelton, and author and doctor of social ethics, Charlotte Law. Charlotte, we'll start with you. The doctor was doing what Michael Jackson asked, but should he have said no and simply walked away?
Well, I understand that he can be found criminally responsible the way the law is, but I actually think the law should be changed, and I think patients should have much greater personal responsibility for their own health. Michael Jackson was doctor shopping. He truly wanted these drugs, and he had a terrible bout of insomnia for many, many years. And if you go onto the internet and you look at the insomnia forum, you're going to see that there are people who are in desperate pain, who can't sleep, who talk about suicide constantly. And I think those people should have access to relief rather than to a system of medical paternalism where it's assumed that the doctor always knows what's best for the patient or the FDA knows what's best for the public. I think individuals can know what's best for them.
Charlotte, Charlotte, let me jump in because, Deborah, basically what Charlotte's saying here is Michael Jackson is responsible for Michael Jackson's death. Do you agree?
Michael Jackson is not responsible for Michael Jackson's death. I totally disagree. It's the same as saying if a mother knows that a snake is poisonous, but the child thinks that it's beautiful and wants to pick up and learn about that animal, and the child gets bit, is it the child's fault or the parents? The parent has responsibility. The same way a professional who knows medical treatment, who knows doses, who knows what that person is going through should say absolutely not because it can jeopardize your life.
Michael Jackson was not a child. He was an adult. He was very well versed in what he was doing.
Who still doesn't know who still does not know, Charlotte, medical. I'm an adult as well, but I know nothing about medicine. If that were the case, I'd be a doctor and I'd be able to administer, but I'm not. So you know what? As an informed adult still, let me finish. As an informed adult still, I know nothing about medicine in order to administer towards myself or even tell a medical person to know what to do for me.
The mayor thinks this next idea is a pretty good one. There are a number of people that think it's being rammed down their throats, allowing an outside company to bid for control of 50 new schools over the next 3 years, including 20 in the 2010-2011 school year. Well, the mayor wants to give outside companies control of LAUSD schools. Opponents claim his motion fails to address key issues impacting students, parents, teachers, and LAUSD employee bargaining units. Deborah, is this the best possible education for the kids, or is it about employees worried about losing jurisdiction and ultimately their jobs?
Fred, I'm on the fence with this one, and here's why. It's a noble concept and a noble idea, but in the last 2 town hall meetings, they were not held in ways in which the public and the community of those schools of the LA Unified School District were able to attend, able to debate, able to listen. They were closed off. And the way they did that was not only unconscionable, it was unreasonable for people that are putting their children in schools, essentially. So I'm kind of on the fence. At the same time, the learning curve has gone down in LA Unified School District, and it has for quite a long time. I have to say this, even though I do not have a child in LAUSD, our LA children are not as smart as other states, quite simply. Even the SAT scores are lower. And with Green Dot that wants to come in and take over, they have not proven yet that they can actually do the job efficiently, knowing that they've got 35 schools who have not done well on their SATs.
Charlotte, what do you think?
Well, I'm not on the fence about this. I totally support this resolution. LAUSD spends an average of $10,000 per child per year, sometimes as much as $12,000. They're private schools that don't get subsidies from religious institutions that can do it for $4,000 to $5,000 a year. Pumping money in doesn't work. The public school system doesn't work. I've always said the public school system is like a drunk. It needs to hit rock bottom before it can get back up. But I think this is possibly the treatment program it needs to get itself back on track. The competitive bidding, however, I would not necessarily let LAUSD be one of those bidders because I think they failed, and I think once you fail, you need to be expelled.
And you know, the thing that I find interesting on this topic here is that those people, and Deborah, you mentioned it, and I read about it today, a lot of people said, hey, we're not consulted here, we're not involved. And a lot of the employees of LAUSD are saying, hold everything. You know, I just think that's a money grab, to be quite honest with you. I think they're saying we don't want anything to happen here where ultimately we could lose money, we could lose our jobs. Right. But, Charlotte, I got to tell you, LAUSD is not functioning the way it should. I don't think it's a bad idea at all to let them bid from the outside. Let's move on. You know the old saying, guilt by association? You are who your friends are? City Attorney Carmen Truchanich says if you want to hang out with your homies, you're going to jail. Truchanich is clamping down on taggers, those who spread graffiti. That's a good idea. Now, the city attorney wants taggers who hang out together to be arrested. Even if you're doing nothing, if you're hanging out with, quote, your homeboys, you're going to jail.
Well, I wouldn't say he's acting like a madman, but I don't agree. I do agree that it's a violation of human rights, but I'm not sure that the California Supreme Court would agree with that because they have supported the gang injunctions. And gang injunctions are set a precedent for this particular action. The city spends a lot of money on graffiti, $36,000 a year. There's been violence that has come out of the graffiti actions. And so I do think that a case can be made for that, even though I don't personally support it. I think it's possible that it might be legally possible to pass, in other words.
Debra, guilt by association here?
I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm going to disagree with Charlotte that, number one, it's not worthy enough to say by association you are automatically guilty. I think that takes us back into a fascist concept of what a community is. Yes, it is illegal. Yes, it is wrong. And yes, it's costing taxpayers a lot of money for cleanup. But the bottom line is, the actual concept is, if you are standing around or hanging out with someone, you are guilty by association. Let's say, for example, someone goes over to another person and says, well, I'm here to help you stop that, or I'm here to talk about a mural program and get you involved in something else, and the police roll up. Now, they can check your credentials, but does that mean that you are automatically guilty simply because you were there? I think it's fascist.
Well, no, actually, I'm agreeing with you. That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't support the gang injunctions either, which means if you just wear certain color clothes or you are associating with someone who's a known gang member, that you can be arrested. I don't personally support any of that. I just think
you know what, Charlotte,
to get it passed.
Then if that's the case, Charlotte, I love you, girl.
I love you too, Debra.
We're going to Twitter and tweet each other all day long.
All right, let's move on. From the Filter Science file. Ladies, if you make a lot of money, I may know why. You see, you have a higher testosterone level. You're more willing to take risks. A study conducted at the University of Chicago and Northwestern University indicated women with higher testosterone levels were 7 times more likely to take risks and achieve a higher reward than women with lower testosterone. Debra, do you know your testosterone level? Do you think this is true?
It's absolutely true. I don't think there is anything that is more theoretical about it. I think it's actually physically possible and actually physically true. And it makes all the sense in the world, too, even if you're not a medical professional and don't know doses or levels of testosterone in each individual woman, it still makes a lot of sense. Simply because with testosterone itself, you have more of a tendency to be aggressive in areas of your life.
Yeah, but Debra, you're not a big spender. You're not a big spender.
But that's me, because I don't have that type of money. I'm going to be real with you right now, okay? But the bottom line is, if I did, and I do have high testosterone levels because I am a thrill seeker. I ride a motorcycle. I was in an accident, and the moment I landed, the first thing I thought is I need a bigger bike. I didn't think of my head, my neck, or my spine. I thought I need a bigger bike immediately. And I completely understand that. Theoretically, it makes sense. Physically, it makes sense. Physiologically, it makes sense that if you have that money and you live within that means, you can take a chance within those means. Because at the same time,
Debra, you got a lot of testosterone with this answer. I'll tell you that.
Actually,
wait. Let me give Charlotte the last word here. We got to go. Go ahead, Charlotte. Take it.
Well, I mean, I personally have always been told I have a lot of testosterone, and you get facial hair when you have testosterone. I used to have a little bit of a beard, I got to admit, but I'm very financially conservative. And there also was a study about a year ago through Cambridge University, and they came up with information regarding testosterone that it increases and decreases during the day, and that if you have a lot, you become very aggressive and competitive and very successful, but you can also go over the top and have so much testosterone that you fail and you lose. So I think it's possible that women's testosterone can also fluctuate, and maybe with the less sexism in our society and the more job opportunities for women to be in aggressive fields, maybe that's more opportunity for their testosterone levels to rise.
Charlotte, great job tonight. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank
Debra,
you.
well done flexing. Appreciate it as always.